The polished glass walls of Cole Enterprises' top floor reflected the morning sun, casting long beams across the sleek, intimidating office. Damian Cole, the company's CEO, sat behind a mahogany desk worth more than some people's homes. His reputation was as sharp as the tailored suit he wore, ruthless, unyielding, efficient. He never tolerated lateness, excuses, or unprofessional behavior. He was scanning yet another resume when the heavy oak door creaked open. Without looking up, he muttered, "You're late. Sit down." But the silence that followed was different. Light, hesitant. He finally raised his eyes and froze. A little girl stood in the doorway. No older than 8, her dress was faded but neatly ironed. A teddy bear dangled from one hand, and a small backpack hung from the other. Her shoes squeaked softly as she stepped forward, nervous but determined. She cleared her throat, voice small but steady. "Sir, Mom's sick, so I came instead." For the first time in years, Damian's composure faltered. He set his pen down slowly. "Excuse me." The girl climbed awkwardly into the tall leather chair opposite him, her legs swinging without reaching the floor. She looked up at him with wide, earnest eyes. "Mom really needed this job," she explained carefully as if rehearsing. "She practiced answers all night, but this morning she couldn't get up. She was too sick. So I thought, maybe I could come and tell you. She's really smart and kind, and she makes the best pancakes." She hugged her teddy closer. "You'd like her." Damian leaned back, studying her in disbelief. For a man who had built empires out of logic and profit, this was the most unexpected interview he had ever seen. The clock ticked softly in the silence that followed. Damian felt the strange stir of something he hadn't felt in years. Uncertainty. He folded his hands. "What's your name?" "Lila," she said proudly, sitting up straighter. "And Mommy's name is Sarah." Damian nodded slowly as if committing the names to memory. "And what exactly do you plan to do here, Lila?" His voice carried a touch of amusement, though his eyes stayed serious. She rummaged through her backpack, pulling out a wrinkled piece of paper. With great care, she smoothed it across his desk. It was filled with handwritten notes in slightly messy cursive, her mother's interview prep. "She wrote this for today," Lila said, her little brow furrowing with concentration. "I don't know all the big words, but I can try to read it for you." Damian stared at the paper. Something twisted in his chest. This wasn't ambition. This was survival. He leaned forward. "Tell me, Lila, why is this job so important to your mom?" Her small hands twisted around the teddy bear's frayed ear. She bit her lip, then whispered, "Because and then she won't cry at night when she thinks I'm asleep." Damian blinked, the words striking deeper than he expected. And if she gets this job, maybe we can buy a house where the roof doesn't leak when it rains." She glanced up, her eyes shining but defiant. "She works really hard, mister. She just needs someone to believe in her." The office went utterly silent. Damian, who had faced billion-dollar negotiations without blinking, suddenly found himself unable to speak. Outside the glass walls of the office, a cluster of board members waited, glancing at their watches impatiently. They expected Damian Cole to finish this interview in seconds, dismiss the interruption, and move on with his tightly packed schedule. Instead, the billionaire CEO pushed back his chair and stood. His towering frame suddenly didn't feel intimidating, it felt human. He walked to the door and opened it just a crack. "Cancel the rest of my meetings this morning," he told his assistant. The secretary blinked. "Sir, but the investors—" "Cancel them," Damian repeated firmly, closing the door. He turned back to the little girl still sitting in the oversized chair, her teddy perched protectively on her lap. Her legs swung nervously, and for the first time, he saw the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Fear that maybe she'd wasted her chance. Fear that her mother's dream was slipping through her small fingers. Damian knelt in front of her, lowering himself so that his cold CEO mask softened into something almost tender. "You know, Lila," he said quietly, "your mom doesn't need to prove anything anymore. She already has the job." Her eyes went wide, her lips parting in disbelief. "Really? You mean it?" He smiled faintly, something breaking open inside him. A crack in the fortress he had built around his own heart. "Really? And I'll make sure she never has to worry about a leaking roof again." Lila let out a squeal of joy, clutching her teddy tight before throwing her tiny arms around his neck. "Thank you, Mr. CEO, thank you." Damien froze for a moment, startled by the uncalculated affection, then slowly patted her back with an awkward gentleness he hadn't shown anyone in years. When she pulled back, he handed her a sleek golden pen engraved with the company logo. "One condition," he said, his tone lighter. "You have to tell your mom that you were the bravest interview assistant I've ever had." Lila giggled, nodding eagerly. "I will, she'll be so proud." As she skipped toward the door, humming under her breath, Damien stayed kneeling on the carpet, staring after her. The board, the investors, the empire he had built, all of it suddenly felt smaller. Because in one morning, an 8-year-old girl with a teddy bear had reminded him of something he had almost forgotten. Business builds companies, but love and sacrifice build lives. And sometimes, the greatest interviews aren't about resumes or credentials. They're about courage and the people we fight for.